Hey again, everybody. My name's Kurt Conrad, and this is West 4th and Goal, North Central Ohio's most popular high school football podcast. I think 30,000 plus downloads in 9 weeks, so we certainly appreciate you guys listening to us. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Noah Jones. And Noah, we're playing a man down again this week as both Zach Heiser and David Yoder are on the disabled list.
I tell you what, we got to find a more consecutive roster.
Well, Noah, it's funny because you're going to be on the DL next week.
I am going to be on the DL.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm flying to New York, learning a little bit about how technology can help elder Americans, or elder people, really, not just Americans, I'm sure, live a healthier life.
Right, and that's part of our Gray Matters, which is one of the solutions journalism pieces we've been working on here for a long time. And
yeah, it's several months in. I don't even remember when we started, but it's exciting to get to be a part of that, and it's blooming into something really pretty cool.
Right, and we got an exciting show lined up here.
Before we get started, I just wanted to get a quick word in about a supporter of the West 4th and Goal podcast this season. A big thank you to Diana Donovan of the Holden Agency. Whether you're a young family looking for your first ever home purchase, or maybe the kids have gone off to college and you're looking to downsize, Diana excels at listening to her buyers' and sellers' specific needs and customizing a home buying or selling experience just for them. You can find Diana on Facebook by searching at Donovan Dream Home. That's at DONOVAN Dream Home, or give her a call at 419-688-9077. Your dream home is waiting. Let Diana get the door for you. Richland Source.
No, it only took 9 weeks, but it finally starting to feel a little bit like football season outside. The leaves are changing. Conference championship races are kind of taking shape, and the playoff picture is coming into focus a little bit. And according to Joe Itel on his website, joeitel.com, one area team has already clinched a playoff spot. That's Lucas, and they won a game 40-6 last week over Cincinnati Aiken. That locked up one of the 8 available playoff berths in Region 27 of Division 7. Aiken is a 5-win team in Division 4, so that was a big win for Lucas.
It was a huge week, really. I love this time of year with the sweater weather and leaves changing and football playing. It's great. Right,
and Lucas is one of just 21 schools statewide that has clinched a playoff berth, according to Joe Itel. And if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably familiar with Joe's site. He kind of tracks the regional computer ratings, which are used to determine high school playoff teams. Now the OHSAA releases the official ratings every Tuesday, but Joe's pretty much spot on. So it's and he does it in real time. So on Friday nights after games are over, that's one of the first things I check. In all likelihood, North Central Ohio is going to send 5 teams to the playoffs, maybe 6. I think they sent 6 last year. As for Lucas, they'll be making their 5th straight playoff appearance, and every other school's postseason fortunes will be determined here in the next couple of weeks. Now, before we introduce our guest this week, I just want to once again thank Andy McIntyre at Two Cousins Pizza. Two Cousins is the official pizza of West 4th and Goal, and in addition to being arguably the best amateur golfer in Richland County, Andy makes the best pizza around, as far as I'm concerned.
The goat of Mansfield pizza.
Absolutely, we had Stromboli a couple weeks ago, and that was dynamite too. So whether you're hungry for pizza, or Stromboli, or subs, or foldovers, give Andy and his team a call at 419-522-2211. Or stop by the shop at 103 North Main Street. It's Two Cousins Pizza. It's the official pizza of West 4th and Goal. Now, Noah, this week's guest is one of the youngest we've had on this show. Last year we had Lucas's Carson Hogger, but he kind of shared mic time with his older brother. His older brother was Jackson. Jackson was a senior. Yeah. Carson was a freshman last year. So this week's guest is our youngest solo guest. He is a sophomore at Madison. He's already a 2-year letterman, and I found out off air he's one of the finest servers out at Munchie's in the off season.
What can I say?
He's Madison's Luke Hess, and Luke, thanks for coming down this evening.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's we certainly appreciate you coming down. Now, Noah, you and I really enjoy taking these conversations to place that kind of wander away from football and
outside the box.
Absolutely, and with Luke, I think we have an opportunity to discuss one of the bigger stories in Richland County in the past month.
One of the bigger stories of my career here.
Absolutely, and for those of you who might not know, and Noah, you were out there on the front lines. Madison had a student protest last month that eventually I wouldn't say eventually, it was a direct result, but it was a piece in the equation that led to Superintendent Shelley Hildebrand's being relieved of her duties. Just tell us, Noah, a little bit about that. I mean, you were out there on the front lines all day there.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, this happened over several months, including starting in the summer. I think I went to my first Madison School Board meeting, and, it became apparent that a lot of community members didn't appreciate the way that the school was being run. And while it's not an elected position, it became pretty clear to me, at least, that community expects the face of the school to reflect their wishes as much as her own. And I think that a lot of this is actually probably pretty important. It's been said to me by multiple people that they didn't exactly dislike what she was doing or her ideas of what she was doing. They just didn't really like the execution. And I think that resulted in the entire community really sort of getting frustrated, and it sort of ended with this protest. Bottom line is, I guess, that the protest, which happened, it was an all-day thing. Students were outside protesting outside of the Board of Education office all day. And what was really striking to me about the protest was the community support. There were a lot of passersby who were honking horns and giving you guys a lot of support. We were talking about this off air. Kurt and I just would never have done that, not because of anything negative, I guess. I just don't think that it was really within our generation's nature to throw a protest. I think that even on Facebook live comments that I got while I was doing it, there were a lot of adults who were sort of talking about how it's the parents' job and it's the parents' responsibility to stand up for their kids. It's the students' job to be in school learning. And while I think that that's a totally okay agreement, I think that while I don't really know any of you guys from a personal basis, I felt a lot of pride in the fact that you guys were standing up for yourselves because you guys were the ones being most affected.
Yeah, it seems like, and maybe I'm way off here, but it seems like young people were more willing to take ownership of their high school experience, I guess. I mean, do you kind of feel like you guys are more politically active, or I mean, is that how it works out there? It seems to me like if you see something, you're not afraid to stand up and be heard.
Yeah, I feel like in our school there's a lot of kids that are very outgoing about this stuff. They want to be heard, and that's really what we did.
How from an insider's perspective, how did the whole thing get organized? I mean, is it all? I would imagine social media plays a pretty big role in these things nowadays. I mean, how did the protest get organized? And just from a student's perspective, how did it get going?
Well, somebody posted a picture on Snapchat, and it said protest Monday. It was supposed to be held Monday, in the parking lot before school. Everybody wear red, and we ended up not having school Monday or Tuesday.
Why was red the important color?
Red for education. So.
And no school Monday or Tuesday, and that's another big story we had here.
Yeah, that was probably the second most important story.
I mean, you guys were out of school because of the federal manhunt. Yeah, the Sean Christie
crazy
federal
week,
manhunt. Yeah,
crazy week for Madison.
Yeah, no kidding.
I would imagine so. I mean, well, just take us through that day. How'd things kind of evolve? I mean, you guys walked out early and spent all day outside, right?
Yeah, we got to school. Everybody was supposed to be in the parking lot. Nobody was in the parking lot when I got up there. Walked in, everybody was in the gym. There was like nobody in the halls. Teachers were in the halls. That's it. Everybody was in the gym. They were all wearing red. They were all starting chants. It kind of seemed like a high school basketball game. a lot of voices in there.
Right. Now you guys spent the whole day at the Board of Education office. Is that right? And
Yeah.
and what was the response, I guess, from the community? It seemed like there was an awful lot of support for you guys.
Yeah, they definitely supported us a lot. They all knew what we were going through, what all the teachers went through.
I had a member of the teachers union tell me at a final Friday that she had gathered the entire school district together in a way that no one else ever had. It just was unfortunate that they were all against her.
Sure. Now, I mean, as an athlete, I mean, you guys are kind of looked up to. I mean, is it I'm sure you heard about the LeBron James kind of controversy last February, where he had some less than flattering things to say about the president, and a pundit came on and
Shut up and dribble.
Right? I mean, do you kind of feel like athletes have a platform that can be used? And I mean, do you have a responsibility, I guess, to stand up if you see something?
Yeah, definitely. Like a lot of the athletes, they went inside after like 3 hours, half the day to practice, so we could go to practice. And I stayed out there all day, along with a lot of other people, which I was allowed to practice, along with all the other people, because the coaches knew, they couldn't do it, and if they could, they would have been out there too.
Right.
Or else they would have,
Well, let's. We got you here. We may as well talk a little bit about the football team this year. I've covered some really good Madison teams out that way in the past decade. And in 2012, a Cale Huss-led team made it to the second round of the playoffs. And 2014, I think Juwan Howard and Tyrell Asian was a sophomore that year, and they made it. Actually, should have won their playoff game, their first round game. A lot of unfortunate circumstances, a lot of injuries in that game kind of cost them. But I mean, you were a young guy. Do you remember much about those teams?
I believe it or not, I actually wasn't really into football back then.
Really?
I started playing in 6th grade. I wasn't really into high school football.
Right.
I was just, playing because I thought it was fun.
Right. Well, let's fast forward here then to last year. You come in as a freshman. You led her as a freshman. A lot of playing time for you. I mean, did you ever expect coming into your freshman season that you would not only, that you'd come in and make an impact at the varsity level that quickly?
It was definitely surprising. After my first game at Shelby, freshman, Coach Massey comes up and said, we'd really like you to play at the varsity level tomorrow. I was, all I could think was, this is all I've wanted, you know?
Right. Now, a lot of times, I mean, guys will come in and get that year of junior varsity football. I mean, you're thrown right into the fire. You're thrown into the fire against a team that goes to the state semifinals last year in Division IV. I mean, is your head kind of spinning when you walk out on that field for the first time?
Yeah, it was really. I was really nervous. I was playing middle linebacker, and it was actually against all their starters too, because our middle linebacker, he got hurt for quarter. I had to go out there. It was they were definitely physical. The pace of the game changed so much,
right?
Compared to 14-year-old kids,
right?
All of a sudden,
you're playing a kid who's going to go play quarterback at a Division I college, and Brennan Armstrong. It's probably I mean, does that kind of make your? I mean, is that the biggest jump, I guess, from junior high football to varsity football? Is just the speed and the size of those guys?
Yes, definitely.
Now I mean, Madison struggled last year, 0-10, for the first time I think since 1971. I mean, as a freshman, I mean, how difficult was? I mean, with all the circumstances that are going on, you're coming in, you're contributing, you guys are winless. I mean, how hard was that for you guys?
It was definitely really hard, but it's just something that you got to take in. You're just so young. I mean, there's really nothing you can do about it.
Is there a positive looking back at it now? It's like, well, now we sort of know what it's like to play with maybe that heartbreak or sort of maybe heaviness to you towards the end of the season. I'm sure that the games were less enjoyable.
Yeah, everybody, you could definitely tell later in the season, we'd get scored on. Everybody's hanging their heads. Nobody feeling confident anymore. It's it was definitely really hard. Now,
in the offseason, Madison makes a coaching change. Jamie Massey is replaced by Dave Stupka. Now, talk a little bit about that. How's that transition from one coach to another? Is Has it been a pretty smooth transition for you guys?
Yeah, Coach Stupka, he came in and, he told us that all of us that were going to be in there, we were either going to be in there if we wanted to win, if we wanted to compete, or else we, didn't have to be in there. And you can tell that he really cares about us. He cares about all the kids. He knows his stuff too, which is great.
Is there like I guess a culture change that comes with a new coach? I mean, do you guys is there a different bounce in your step, I guess, this year than maybe that you guys didn't have last year? Or?
Yeah, he gets into like a lot of stuff. Like Coach Massey, he was kind of, like laid back, and Coach Stupka, he really gets into it.
Right. Now, are there philosophies, are the offensive and defensive philosophies, are they similar from last year? Are you guys starting over basically from scratch and learning a whole new system this year?
Some stuff stayed the same. We had a few more formations put in and all that stuff, but for the most part, it's kind of still all the same.
Yeah, I've always been told like one of the biggest differences is just terminology. I mean, is the language similar? I mean, offensively and defensively.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see progress being made?
A lot of it, yeah.
Right.
Just the thing is that like we'll be doing good, first quarter, and then we'll get scored on or fumble, and then the next thing you know, everybody's hanging their heads, nobody's staying positive.
Right. How about for you personally? I mean, now that you have a year of varsity experience, I mean, what's your role? How has your role evolved this year? It seems like you are a lot more involved in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it definitely changed a lot. I didn't expect for it to be this much coming into this year, but it's definitely been a very big change. Especially like with me having to change positions, it was really hard, but it's just something you got to do.
Right. Tell us about that position change. You went from being a linebacker to a defensive end, huh?
Yeah. Our starting defensive end, he had a surgery on his appendix.
Okay.
And that was actually during the week of the protest. Okay. That's, so I didn't get any practice time at that position.
Right.
And come Friday, I'm clueless on what I'm doing. I'm just hitting the tackle.
Right.
That's it.
Now you guys, I think, lost your first 2 games this year. Then you guys beat an Akron North team, 40-0. It snaps a 19-game losing streak. I would imagine that does a whole lot for you guys mentally. I mean, how nice was it to finally kind of get off the schneid and get that win?
It was great. I've never had a better feeling, knowing that I contributed to that. I had 3 touchdowns that game,
right,
which was, it made myself and my team feel really good.
Right. Now, I think week 1 you caught a touchdown pass, and week 2 you returned a kickoff for a touchdown. Against North, you rushed for 3, or I know rushed for 2 in the first half for sure. Seems like they're using you in a whole bunch of different ways. I mean, do you like that? I mean, is that good for you?
Yeah. I love it actually. I like how I'm never doing the same thing.
Okay.
I'm always doing something different.
What do you like best?
I like passes.
Right.
Passes are my favorite because, me as a fullback,
right,
I got to run up the middle, which when I get a pass, I can do whatever.
Kind of probably a little different to be in space instead of getting it in between the tackles all the time, huh? Now, Madison, you guys are 1-7 this year. OCC wins have been hard to come by. I don't think Madison's won one since 2015. You guys are at Lexington this week. You play Mansfield Senior traditionally in Week 10. I mean, I would imagine with those 2 games coming up here, those aren't hard to get motivated for, are they?
No. Lex week is, you can just tell, like the whole practice, the whole mood changes. All the coaches, there's just something about Lex that a lot of people in our community just don't like.
Right. And Lex has a guy who's going to Ohio State to play football next year, Cade Stover. I mean, what is it exciting to play against a kid like that? I mean, what's that like?
It is. It's really exciting actually. Last year I didn't really get to, I didn't really get to play against him, which I'm kind of glad. But this year,
a lot of people are glad
Right,
when they
yeah.
don't have to play against him. Yeah.
this year I'm really, really excited. I've been looking forward to it since week 1. It's finally here.
Right. Now, Madison's 8th grade team here recently just concluded I think a perfect season, an undefeated season. They won an OCC championship. Do you expect some of those guys to come in and contribute right away the way that you had to last year?
I don't know because our coach, Coach Stupka, he says that if you're a freshman, you should play freshman football.
Right.
So none of our freshmen even played JV this year.
Right. What advice do you have as a guy that has been through that? Do you have any advice for the young guys coming in?
Don't rush anything.
Right.
Take advantage of all the time you have. Hit the weight room. That's a really big part. And just have fun.
Yeah, I think that's an important realization by your coach is to to have them play among all the other freshmen as more or less a developmental league. I think that's really important for what you're saying, developing your body into varsity shape and even mentally and strategically. I think that's a good call.
Right, and Mansfield Senior is a good example. I've covered their basketball team for years, and they periodically will have kids who are Division I caliber basketball players. But when Greg Collins was the coach, he liked to keep those guys together, no matter even if they deserved to be playing at a higher level. He liked to keep the class together, and so that they could progress as a group all the way up through there, and that paid dividends with multiple district championships and sometimes appearances in the state Final Four. So I think there's definitely an argument that can be made that keeping those guys together is probably the way to go. I would imagine, you guys had some probably like 4 or 5 of you guys who lettered at the varsity level as freshmen last year, but you were all together. 6 of you?
7.
7 of you. Wow, no kidding. But you guys stayed together, so I would imagine chemistry with that group. You guys have been playing together for a while, and you continue to play together. Is the chemistry there?
Yeah, it's you can definitely tell it's there. 6th grade, 5th grade, we were undefeated every year. We lost a lot of kids going into 7th grade, and you could definitely tell we went 4-3 that year. In 8th grade, we went 4-4. And 9th grade, it was really good. We tied first OCC. There was a lot of learning last year.
Sure.
A lot of it.
Now it's kind of weird to think of, I'm sure for you, but in like 10 days, half of your high school football career is going to be over. You got a game Friday, you got a game the following Friday. Madison's not one of the teams that is in contention for a playoff spot. Is that something you even allow yourself to think about yet? It's going to rush past you real quick here.
It's hard because these past 2 years have flown by.
Sure.
And I can only imagine how fast the next 2 are gonna.
Now Madison is. It's not like you guys are rebuilding a program from scratch. Madison traditionally has been very good, but do you kind of sense that maybe you guys are going to be a group that helps to reestablish that program a little bit? Can you guys do that? Are you in on the ground floor in terms of getting it rebuilt?
Yeah, we're all aware that we just need to stick together. We need to put in a lot of work in the off season. We need to recruit. We just need guys that are willing to play and they want to win.
Right. Well, I think that's we're gonna take a quick break here, but we'll come back. You can stick around for a little longer.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll stick around and we'll be right back with Madison's Luke Hess. Welcome back to West 4th and Goal. I'm your host, Kurt Conrad, and we're here with Madison sophomore Luke Hess. But before we dive back in with Luke, let's take a quick break to talk about Diana Donovan at the Holden Agency. Whether you're a buyer or seller in Richland or Ashland County, your dream home might just be out there waiting for you. Diana is ready to get the door for you. Find her on Facebook by searching @Donovan Dream Home, or give her a call at 419-688-9077. Once again, 419-688-9077. And we are back. We are a couple of weeks away from Halloween. And Luke, you got what are you dressing up as this year? Do you guys have a dress up day at school or anything like that?
No,
Not anymore.
I mean, some kids that are at school, they dress up every day. And it's kind of scary, but it's just reality.
Right on.
So does that mean you're not going to be anything for Halloween? Are you in the camp that you're too old for Halloween? Because let me tell you what, buddy, you're not.
Well, like Dad always says, you're too old for Halloween. So
I was like, my dad doesn't say that.
And I don't think I'm ever going to tell my son that. He can dress up for as long as he would like to. No idea. I don't know if you pay much attention to the Powerball, but I think it's up to, or the Mega Millions is up to $900 million this week.
I think it's time for a new Bare Naked Lady song. If I had $900 million.
Right. I'm sure we should probably pool the money together and see if we can buy some tickets.
Yeah.
Right on. What if you had $900 million? What are you doing with it?
Indoor practice facility.
Is that
Definitely,
right?
yes.
For these cold fall and winter.
Honestly,
months.
I don't even care about the cold. Just the heat.
Oh.
My gosh.
Right. How about this? 15-0 state championship or $900 million?
15-0.
There you go.
Hey, 5-5. I'm good with 5-5.
Absolutely, yeah. Small steps.
Winning an OCC game.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Let's run around the area and see what games are going on this week. We talked a little bit about it. Madison is at Lexington. Lex is right in the hunt for a playoff spot. Quite surprisingly, they started the season 0-3. They were, I think, 1-4 a month ago. They've won 3 straight. If they win their last 2, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to get in. Luke, without giving away the game plan, what's Lex do well? What are you guys going to have to do well to slow him down a little bit?
Well, what Cade Stover does well is he runs the ball really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
He's just unstoppable. What we got to do is stop him. We got to wear him out. And I mean, maybe if we wear him out, then we should have a decent chance at getting the dub.
Right on.
So it's a spoiler at the very least for you guys if you guys can win. So you're still very much playing for a reason in this game,
Yeah. The mood, like I said earlier, Lex Week is always. It's not even about senior week, honestly. It's
Is that right?
Lex Week. Everyone looks forward to week 9.
Also in the OCC, Mount Vernon is at Mansfield Senior. You guys played Mount Vernon earlier in the year. Senior high is always your Week 10 opponent. Just your thoughts on Mount Vernon. What did they do well?
They were everywhere.
Is that right?
Everywhere on the field, One play, they were running up the middle. The next play was a screen. It was just hard to think about.
Right. Also, OCC Ashland is 5-3. They are at West Holmes, and West Holmes is 6-2. That's a big game for West Holmes. Ashland is it's gonna be a hard road for them to get in, regardless at 5-3, because they're a Division II team, and I just don't think there's enough points available for them to get into the playoffs.
Right.
For West Holmes, that's a win against a 5-win Ashland team will put them right in contention. They're a Division III team. I'm not sure which region it is. I haven't looked at it recently, but you guys have played both those teams. Ashland likes to throw it around, and West Holmes does too this year. Are there similarities between those two teams?
They're both very, very physical,
Right.
Big teams. They're both really, really powerful. What's the word I'm thinking for?
Strong.
It's like
Physical?
like you never know where they're gonna be.
Okay.
What is it called?
I don't know. We'll get back to that.
It'll come to us as soon as we stop recording.
Right on. I think the game of the year that at least for a lot of people around here, it's not an OCC game, but it's a former OCC member, Clear Fork. They host Marion Pleasant. Pleasant is 7-1. Clear Fork is 8-0. Both those teams are probably going to the playoffs. This is to
That'll be a great game.
determine who's going to win the Mid-Ohio Athletic Conference Championship. You guys saw Clear Fork in the preseason. It's a pretty good team. What do they do well?
What don't they do well?
Absolutely.
Everything. It was they were everywhere.
Right.
Trey Trammell, very, very talented. Their whole team is just very talented.
Right. And they do a lot of things well, I think, defensively, too, that might get overlooked because they are so prolific offensively. They score so many points. But that's like with the exception of one half against Galleon where they gave up 35 points, it's hard to move the ball against them. It's hard to score against them. Other big games, a Northern 10 Athletic Conference game, kind of getting into the smaller school stuff. Mohawk is at Winford. Mohawk is 8-0. I think they're number one team in the state in Division 7. Winford is a traditional powerhouse around here. It goes to the playoffs just about every year. Their playoff position is kind of precarious right now, though, because of 3 losses. A fourth loss, I don't know if they can get in, but if they knock off an undefeated Division 7 team, that's going to vault them right back up into the top 8 in their region.
Absolutely.
So I mean it's almost a must-win game for Winford. Other big games, it's a PAC game, a Principals Athletic Conference game. Loudonville is in that conference. It's a football-only member. That league is based primarily in I think Portage County or maybe Summit County. I don't know exactly. Up near Akron. It's Akron Manchester is at Loudonville. Manchester 6-2. Loudonville's 4-4. Manchester put it on a good Orville team last week. Beat the brakes off of them. I think it's like 60. They scored 60 points on Orville. If Loudonville wants to get to the playoffs, they have to win at least one of their last 2 and preferably both of their last 2. So that's a big game for the Redbirds, and I know a lot of people down that way are excited about the prospect of hosting a very good Manchester team. The last game in the area that is of I think some pretty significant interest. South Central is 6-2. They're at Crestview at 3-5. It's a Firelands Conference game. South Central is on the brink of earning its first ever playoff appearance. They've never been to the playoffs before. They're one of the very few schools in the area. I think they may even be the only school in the immediate area. I mean, we don't cover them a lot because they're not real close to Mansfield. They're kind of out in no man's land.
Right.
But I mean, to get to the playoffs for the first time in school history it's an exciting thing. So
Absolutely.
So a chance to do that. So Crestview is 3-5, but they've played a lot of very good football teams. They lost to Hillsdale early in the year. Hillsdale is going to probably be a playoff team. They lost to Norwalk St. Paul, another playoff team. Mapleton in that conference is a playoff team. So 3-5, but it's a little deceptive because they've played and lost to some very good teams. Well, I think that's going to do it. That's everything we have. We certainly appreciate Luke Hess for coming down and joining us. And stick around and come back and join us West 4th and Goal next week.
Yeah, thanks very much, Luke.
Yep, thank you.